blue, white, full of light, deep blue, green, cool, red, dazzling, gold. South Pelion, the great borough of colour, of cultural and natural heritage, a unique destination which harmoniously combines the mountain, the sea and the island environment with culture, natural and cultural heritage. Colours become pictures, and pictures villages, beaches, waters, forests, and islands, weaving a colourful canvas on the mountain of the centaurs, half men and half horses, according to mythology, lived in the most magnificent region of Greece, Pelion. Most acclaimed is the wise centaur Heron. Hunter, teacher and doctor, he healed the sick using the medicinal herbs of Pelion. A paradise, a balanced fusion of the mountain and the sea, awaiting the traveller throughout the year. Access in South Pelion is nothing but difficult, either by flying to Neanhelos or by motorway, and subsequently driving to Volos and then along the coastal route until the borough after about 15 kilometers. The visitor should anticipate contemporary, well-organized hotels, small, picturesque, welcoming stone-built guest houses, and many places to savour the authentic traditional gastronomy of Pelion. Mansions, cobblestones, churches, squares, museums, all year-round events and festivals unite locals and visitors in respect for local tradition and customs. The beaches are famous for their crystal-clear waters and beautiful scenery engulfed by the mountain of the centaurs. The Aegean Sea and Pagasetikos Gulf boast breathtaking emerald, clear waters fit for swimming and for every kind of water sport or underwater exploration. There is also a plethora of choices for alternative tourism, such as walking along the verdant mountain pathways, mountain biking, or horse riding on Mountain Pelion and along its beaches. The waters of the Aegean and Pagasetikos Gulf are ideal for both amateur and professional anglers. Consequently, fresh fish and seafood are always available in the pretty little tavernas. Pelion also hosts an outstanding piece of world heritage, the historical Volos Miles Railway, widely known as the Little Train of Pelion. It is the legendary beauties, named after the smudge produced by the coal fuel. The Train of Pelion has a history of over 110 years. It used to run incessantly for 68 whole years on the mountain line, carrying both people and cargo. It is inextricably intertwined with the most significant events, the customs and traditions, and the social and cultural life of the area. It used to have a profound effect on the regional culture and the development. In 1985, during Melina Mercouri's term of office at the Ministry of Culture, the Volos-Milias Railway was designated as a historical monument. What is highlighted by this is the strong relation between the train on the one hand and the folklore, the culture, the history and the environment on the other. Since 1996, the mountain line has reopened, connecting Anna-le-Hogne with Milias as a tourist museum railway, powered by steam and diesel. Nowadays, the train runs on the mountain from spring to autumn on weekends, while there is a daily service in the summer. Concerted efforts have been made with a view to having it listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and additionally towards having it awarded with a new European Heritage label by the European Union.
Είμαστε ένας αναπτυσσόμενος τουριστικός δήμος, ο Δήμος του Νοτιού Πηλιού, με το μεγαλύτερο μέρος των ακτογραμμών του νομού, με πληθώρα παραλιών, διαθέτει ποικιλία καταλυμάτων και έχει υποδομές για να προσφέρει ολοκληρωμένες υπηρεσίες για τη φιλοξενία των τουριστών. Η συμβολή του προγράμματος ART είναι σημαντική για την αξιοποίηση του τουριστικού προϊόντος. Στόχος μας ως Δημοτική Αρχή είναι να αξιοποιήσουμε την πηλιορίτικη κληρονομιά μας για την ενδυνάμωση και προώθηση του τουρισμού. Οι επισκέπτες της περιοχής μας, φεύγοντας, θα τη θυμούνται για πάντα, έχοντας τις καλύτερες αναμνήσεις.
The borough starts from the seaside of Malaki with its marvelous long beaches and extends to the mountain until Agios Georgios, one of the most splendid villages on Pelion, with its museum of sculptor Nikolaou and the inimitable works of art in the square. The seaside settlement of Katogatzea with its campsites offers unforgettable holidays. The Olive Museum of Anogatzea, next to the railway station, exhibits tools and artifacts related to olives and oil. The olive, symbol of peace, health, fertility and victory, the tree of virtue, epitomizes rebirth and light. On the way up the mountain there is Milias, with its scenic train station of the small train of Pelion. There is a large iron bridge of Evaristo de Chirico and a chance to rest and enjoy quality food in the spacious square. It is well worth visiting the public library in Milias, which is historically connected with Milias School founded in 1815. The historical part of the library contains 3,355 old books and 116 manuscripts, and approximately 1,000 loose documents and objects of particular historical interest. The Folklore Museum of Milles houses a substantial collection of folk art, costumes and traditional professions. There is also the sublime church monument of the Taxiarchon, with its wonderfully carved and gilded Templar, its impressive post-Byzantine icons, and, for its age, impeccable acoustics. A little higher on Pelion, Visites and Pinakates, with their old mansions and separate guest houses, are set in the greenery of Pelion and constitute an ideal destination for all seasons. Here, one can admire Pelion, the architecture with its distinctive traditional houses, mansions and churches. In all Pelion mansions, the architectural style entails unique local characteristics, for instance, stones and slabs extracted from the mountain. In Visitsa, Milles and Trikeri, as in other villages of southern Pelion, the women's cooperatives are busy producing sweet fruit preserves made from fresh ingredients. It would be a pity for the visitor to miss out on their special taste. The fresh fruits of Pelion, the apples, pears, pale yellow beeches, figs, grapes, and so on, are highly praised. Heading towards Pagasitikos Gulf, the road leads to Kalanera. Kalanera is arguably the most renowned tourist resort on Pelion, with its excellent range of services all year round and a great diversity of accommodation and recreational activities. Koropi is the seaport of Milles, a quaint settlement located 22 kilometers from Volos, a tranquil village where the greenery reaches down to the sea. Here lies the longest beach of Pagasitikos Gulf, the extensive 1-mile sandy beach of Bufa with its immaculate waters. The road carries on to charming Ephesus, a harmony of island colours and Pelion architecture. The houses are built to overlook the wonderful sea view. The coastal road comprises small hotels, rooms to let, restaurants, cafes and bars, leading to isolated bays and small pretty beaches. Above Ephesus, in Athetes, there are stone bridges built around a magnificent olive grove looking down on the Pagasitikos Gulf. The villagers work mainly in the large olive groves situated on the surrounding slopes which reach close to shores of Pagasitikos Gulf. Northwest of Ephesus, at an altitude of 136 meters, there is the only lake of Pelion. It is an artificial lake created by the dam of Panayotiko. An objective of the borough is tourism development in a way that fits harmoniously with the environment of Pelion. Neochori, at the beginning of the peninsula, features an outstanding square and the church of Agios Dimitris, built in 1768, which contains religious icons by the folklore artist Pagonis. The small but celebrated village of Kalamaki, also known as Propham, is famous for its natural slate, used in traditional roofing, flooring, and paving. The monasteries of Agioros have also been built using these slates. Next to Kalamaki, located on the borough's boundaries, lost amongst the chestnut trees, there is a hidden village, Lambinou, with its Byzantine monastery of Virgin Mary of Lambidona, and its beach, which invites one to relax in its deep blue waters. In the vicinity of Neochori, the village of Siki is majestically placed for surveying the northern Sporadas Islands, Scathos, Skopelos and Alonissos, and the endless Aegean Sea. What is also worthwhile is the monastery of John the Baptist. On a fertile plateau of olive trees 40 kilometers from Volos lies the biggest village of South Pelion, Argalasti, the administrative center of the borough. The landscape is dominated by the marble bell tower of the Church of Apostles Peter and Paul, built in the 19th century, modelled on the Church of Smyrna's Saint Photinis bell tower, with large clock faces and 2 Russian bells. Style mansions, beautiful homes with flower-filled gardens, and neoclassical buildings adorn the village. The poet Kostas taught literature at the local school. The visitor will come across cobbled paths leading down to the beaches and to the mountain villages and the beautiful bow bridges. In the village square, as in other squares in Pelion, backgammon in the cool shade of the century-old trees constitutes a typical form of entertainment. From Argalasti, one can easily access Horto, Kalamos and Lefokastro, idyllic villages on the Pagasetikos Gulf. As well as the impressive beaches of Paltsi and Melani, lapped by the turquoise sea of the Aegean. Near Argalasti, there is a conference and cultural center of the St. Nicholas Monastery of Pau, which is run by the University of Thessaly. It is an apt venue for conferences and events, and it is equipped with the latest technology. The restored monastery was built in the 15th century and is endowed with post-Byzantine icons. Between Argalasti and Lafkos, there is Metochi, a small delightful village whose residents once worked for the St. Nicholas Monastery of Pau. few kilometers away from Argalasti lies Xinovrisi, a village of particular local color, neighboring with Potistika, one of the most beautiful beaches of Pelion in Greece. A prominent village on the mountain ridge is Lafkos, with its stone-paved village square, shady plane trees, and its majestic post-Byzantine church. One can visit the Radio Museum with a collection of about 120 antique radios dating from 1920 to 1960 from the world over. All donated by the German scientist Wilfried Schöps. This is the first and sole Radio Museum Adonis Tavanis in Greece. The old primary school houses the Fabio Museum, with sculptures and works of the local artist Thanasis Fambas. An air model flying club can be found at a close distance from Lafkos, at Prophetis Elias. On the other side, facing the Aegean and the Sporades Island, lies Promiri, one of the most historical villages of Greece, with a particularly strong presence in the national liberation struggle of 1821 and the subsequent Greek revolutionary movements of the 19th century. Forged in legend and tradition, lush Promiri is built amphitheatrically, with many coastal hamlets such as Murtias, Lyri, Kastri, and Katigiorgis. Here visitors can enjoy local tsipuro and mouth-watering fresh seafood. The placid harbour of Platanias is situated opposite Skathos. It is a quiet fishing village with a beach where in the summer one can sail across to the magical island of Skathos on one of the daily excursions. Next to Platanias, Mikro is one of the most beautiful hamlets of the borough. It offers peace and tranquility in a beautiful natural setting. On the way to the tip of the Pelion Peninsula and towards Trikeri, to the west side of Pelion, there is Horto, an eye-catching coastal village on the Pagasetikos Gulf. It has the typical vegetation and architecture of Pelion, which blends into the natural environment. It's a perfect place for a peaceful, relaxing holiday. Continuing the journey, the road leads to Milina, a modern seaside resort, just outside of which there are remains of the ancient city Olizon. On the little island of Alatas, one can visit the Byzantine monastery of Agii Saranda. Trikeri, the prow of Thessaly, is a former sponging village with an impressive marine history. Famous captains played an important role in the years of the 1821 rebellion. Perched on the peak of a barren hill, it has all the characteristics of an island settlement, which differentiates it from the rest villages of Pelion. There is profound interest in the old captain's mansions, the tower houses, the narrow streets, and the women's gold-embroidered traditional costumes, which are still worn on special festive days. Distinctive churches, chapels and monasteries, the prominent Agia Triada Church of Trikeri, with its characteristic wooden carved iconostasis, frescoes, and the throne of Napoleon. The residents of Trikeri used to be sponge divers who harvested the precious sea sponges from the seabed throughout the year. Annually, several cultural events take place. In this way, tradition is preserved. The seaport of Trikeri, the harbour of Agia Kyriaki, is one of the most important ports of Pagasetikos Gulf. The slopes are dotted with small white Aegean-style houses, and on the coast, the Tsipouradica restaurants offer visitors a unique delicacy, the famous crab pasta dish. In the shipyard, the fishermen repair or build their boats, whereas in the old school building, there is a folklore museum. In the seaside hamlets of Alogoporos, one can reach the island of Old Trikeri by taxi boat. Most characteristic of this island is the fact that there are no cars. The Panagia Monastery is an important destination for pilgrims. In the Tsipouradica restaurants, in the cove of Agia Kyriaki in Trikeri, and on the island, visitors can savor the local specialty of flame-grilled octopus and other seafood treats. Waters are ideal for swimming and water sports. The sea in the wider area is one of the most scenic in Greece. Tiny islands of Trikeri, Brasouda, the shipwrecks in northern Evia, Podikonisi and the Lefteris Reef are great underwater experiences. On the way to Trikeri, on the outskirts of the borough of South Pelion, small beaches and tiny bays welcome the visitor. Among them stands out Destiny. Trademark of Greek tourism worldwide. Pelion Peninsula, the deep blue waters of the three seas of the Aegean, Northern Evia and Parasitikos Gulf are the boundaries of the borough of South Pelion. Visiting the picturesque islands and witnessing the unspoiled natural scenery, swimming in the deep blue waters of the Aegean and Parasitikos, or watching the sun descend slowly into the sea will definitely be etched on the visitor's memory.